So, next up is the gentleman standing right next to me right here, member of the board of SSBL Salibändi Oy, which is the company behind F-Liiga, of course. Mr. Peter Vesterbacka, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
First of all, your topic today is branding is everything, and I must say that you yourself have managed in that field, in professionally, also personally, because I think I have never seen you wearing anything else than a red hoodie. This time the logo is a little bit different. Usually it has been the big bird. I must ask you, how many red hoodies do you have?
Yeah, I haven't counted, but it's probably like about 30. So I have many different ones, different brands, and yeah, I mean it's something that I've always been doing, and I think that it's branding is all about standing out, and you need to do that, kind of like on a personal level, organizational level. So it's all about branding.
Before I let you go on with your topic today, you of course, I think many people know you better from the gaming world. Not maybe so much yet from floorball, but what
different games, like
yeah, exactly.
Angry Birds and floorball, like same.
Exactly. So Angry Birds, of course, is the biggest, probably the most well-known product anyway. What would you like to tell us about your background in that business?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I was the Mighty Eagle for Rovio for many years, and basically we're pretty successful with that. So we made it the fastest growing consumer brand like ever, and I think there's a lot that we can learn from that experience when we look at floorball. So I think that there are all kinds of games, and of course floorball being one of the fastest growing if you look at like any sport. But I think that it's really important that we always keep in mind that we are constantly competing for the attention and for the time of the people. No matter if we're creating games for mobile phones or like these digital devices, or if we're like in the analog world. And of course now more and more there's no kind of like boundary. So I mean, I think most of the people there in the audience, they're like staring into their computer screens or mobile phones or something like that. And I think that of course then we need to take that as a starting point, and then now when we look at floorball, how do we basically engage people? We get them ideally on the court, playing, or at least, to the court side and watching people play. And basically, also you could be watching this event. I mean, you're all there somewhere, in Singapore or in Australia or in the US or wherever you happen to be. And I think that this is again the reality. And now I've been actually on the board for F-Liiga for a few years now, and of course the pandemic has slowed down our global plans a little bit, but I think that it's really all about looking at the world and then seeing how can we make floorball, and in this case like the F-Liiga, as big as it should be. And again, I think there's a lot of experience from like the Angry Birds side and like that mobile gaming world and the branding that we can bring to the sport of floorball. So I think we have a massive opportunity ahead of us.
And during your time on the board, you
we started with doing the brand.
New brand,
absolutely.
Of course. And I must say, from my point of view, it was quite successful. It was something new. It was something that probably set people back a little bit at first with the new logo and the new name and everything. But I must say, time has gone on. It feels quite successful. So I must remind people right now that please post your questions for Peter and all of our speakers today on the chat window. And now I think it's time for me to let them, not the Mighty Eagle anymore, but the Mighty Falcon.
Mighty Falcon. Let's use that. Yeah,
Peter, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Very good, very good. Yeah, so it's really fantastic to be here today, and happy to see that we have so many people joining us from like all over the planet. And already kind of like we got started there a little bit about my background. So I used to be the Mighty Eagle at Rovio, so the company behind Angry Birds. And I think that there's a lot of kind of like similarities and parallels. If you look at now what we are doing with the F-Liiga here in Finland. And I mean, our ambition, of course, is to be kind of like the biggest and best. Probably we already are, but we want to make that absolutely clear. So by 2028, the F-Liga will be the most valuable floorball league on the planet. And we're executing on that. So we did the strategy a few years ago, and then part of that was coming out with the F-Liga branding that is now all over the place. It's a good start, but I can assure you that we are only getting started. And if we look at a bit history of Angry Birds, because I think that there's a lot that we can learn from there, and it's very important for sports. And actually, while at Angry Birds, we did a lot of collaboration with some of the leagues that you might have heard about. So we did a lot of work with NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, all of these like pretty boring three-letter acronyms that they have over there in the US. But they also happen to be some of the biggest leagues. And I think that we can learn a lot from these professional leagues on the floorball side as well. So we have some good role models there, but also, I mean, closer to home here in Europe, I mean, La Liga, Premier League, and all of that. There's a lot that we can learn from these, now considered like big leagues. And again, if you look at Angry Birds, actually, I mean, a bit of history there. That actually started way back as a student project. So 3 young guys in Helsinki, Finland. They were students at Aalto. They took part in a game-making competition to make the best mobile multiplayer game. This was in 2003, long time ago. And they won the competition. And then they came to me and they asked that, hey, Peter, I was actually one of the organizers, that we are students here in Aalto. We won this competition. What should we do? And it's actually a very generic piece of advice that I gave them. I said that, hey, you guys love making games, playing games. So, hey, why don't you start a company to do what you love to do? And I think that this is also, of course, the advice to everybody here. And, we all love floorball. And that's why we're doing this. We shouldn't forget that it's about, the love of the game. That's why we're here. And that's actually how Rovio started. And okay, then the guys made 51 games in 6 years, and then the 52nd game was Angry Birds. So, even if you look at now like floorball, we're not the biggest sport yet, but hey, why not? And, we have plenty of time and there's no problem trying different things. And of course, when we try, new things, many times we fail and then, we try again and eventually we're successful. That's a little bit like what happened with Angry Birds. But again, it started with doing, what you're passionate about, what you love. And I think that this is a very good piece of advice for like all of us, here today as well. So, the love of floorball, the love of sports. And that should be at the core of any brand. I mean, it has to be true and there has to be a bit of like passion and love in it. I think that is really, really important. But anyway, then with Angry Birds, so the game came out 11th of December 2009, and then basically we had a few downloads of the game, and it became number 1 in Finland, in Sweden. So again, there's a parallel to floorball there. Finland and Sweden, of course, been dominating floorball. But then, the game took off, like UK, US became number 1 and stayed there. So, maybe there's some parallels, that we can find there also, like how Angry Birds took over the world, how floorball is taking over the world. And actually, another parallel that I just kind of like thought of, we also became huge in Singapore. And of course, Singapore floorball is pretty big there, as we all know. So maybe we can follow the trajectory of Angry Birds. And one thing then that I think is very important, early days of Angry Birds, we had 1 million or 2 million downloads. Of course, that's already like a lot, but like in the bigger scheme of things, now there are lots of games that have, millions of downloads. But back then, I told the team at Rovio that, guys, we're going to go for 100 million downloads. And then immediately everybody at the company, and especially outside of the company, told me that, hey, Peter, nobody has gotten to 100 million downloads like ever. It's not possible. There's no way you can get to 100 million. Not even Tetris, which was the biggest game back then. Tetris had been out for 20 years, and not even Tetris had gotten to 100 million downloads. So, Peter, you're crazy, you're insane. It's like not going to happen. And I think this is something that, again, keep that in mind when we look at floorball today and where we're at and where we need to go. Fine, like nobody believed that you can get to 100 million. First 12 months, we got to 50 million, like huge number. Then, everybody got their new phones, iPhones, Androids, whatnot, for Christmas 2010. We added 25 million because you know how it goes. Like take out your phone. What is number one? No, it's this like Redbird. Let's check it out. 25 million downloads. And then the really amazing thing happened in March 2011. Like just 50 months into Angry Birds, 100 million, which was supposed to be impossible. So if I, now tell you that floorball will be the biggest sport on the planet, probably people will tell me that, hey, Peter, what about football and basketball and even ice hockey and like all of these things, and cricket, if you're over there in India or in like the former Commonwealth, then cricket might be a big thing for you. So most people would probably not buy into, floorball, never going to be the biggest sport. So a little bit like with Angry Birds, what I was told that, hey, not going to happen. But then we got to that impossible 100 million. And actually, after that, when I'm asked that, okay, how did you make this success happen? They always say that, yeah, of course, I mean, as a start, Finnish people, best marketeers on the planet. So, I mean, we had that going for us. But then also everybody knows how to walk on water. And then you're like, what do you mean? Isn't that like impossible? Okay, let's stop there with that another impossible thing, walking on water. So what happened at Rovio, we got to that 100 million even faster than I thought. But again, it's about setting the ambition, and I thought it was very ambitious, 100 million, nobody has done that, so let's go for it. But what happened then was very, very interesting because nobody believed that, hey, we could get there. And even I didn't believe that we could get there in like 15 months. But then what also happened, of course, I mean, the company grew very fast and we went from 12 people to 850 pretty rapidly. And, this like hyper growth. But that also meant that most of the people were not there when the breakthrough happened. So when you ask these newcomers that, hey, okay, so what do you do at Rovio, at the company? What is it all about? Then they said that, we make games and then 100 million downloads happen. New game, 100 million. New game, 100 million. That's what we do. It's like easy. And of course, not easy. I mean, to get to 100 million downloads of a mobile game is not easy. You have to know what you're doing. So of course, you have to make a great game. You have to have a great product. You have, like in the case of floorball, you have to have a great sport. Otherwise, we would probably not be here. So we have a good starting point. We had a great game, and here, we're talking floorball. So everybody then just, this is what we do. We do make new games and 100 million downloads kind of like happens. Of course, it didn't just happen. We did all kinds of interesting marketing activities, branding activities, and for us, it was like all about the brand. So we, when we launched, for example, Angry Birds Space, we did that in space, on the International Space Station, together with NASA, because, hey, those are the biggest players in space, so of course we did that. And we just, made it happen. And yes, we got to 100 million. And I think that, and we teamed up with Lucas, we did Angry Birds Star Wars, so bringing, Angry Birds Star Wars, two huge brands together, and again, got to 100 million very quickly. And actually, if you look at the Angry Birds side, I think they're now approaching 5 billion, which is, okay, not quite every single person on the planet, but, getting there. So it's again, possible. So my point then going back to this, walking on water. So many things in life. First, you think it's impossible. 100 million downloads, walking on water, floorball, biggest sport on the planet. But then you figure it out. You learn how to do it. And that's kind of like what happened with Angry Birds, that we figured out how to do the new game 100 million. And, all of us here in Finland, Sweden, here in the north, we know that walking on water is like super easy because you do that in the winter when the water is frozen. Super easy, a bit slippery, but like not too difficult. And this is the point here that first you don't know, but then you figure it out and you make it happen. So with Angry Birds, we figured it out and we made it the fastest growing consumer brand ever. And that's why I'm very confident that, of course, we can make, floorball, we can make the F-Liga the biggest brand in sports. Like, why not? That's what we're gonna, make happen. And of course, a lot of people will tell me, and I'm very used to hearing that, Peter, you're crazy, it's not gonna happen, it's impossible. But hey, it's like walking on water. We'll figure it out. So anyway, then if you look at what we did at Rovio, and again, I think that there's a lot to be learned there if you look at floorball and actually any sport. First of all, we are always competing for something that is a very limited resource. The time and the attention of the people. And this is something that the gaming industry is like expert in. Really figuring out how do you pull in millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of people into your game. How do you get that attention? That's something that the gaming industry is like really good. And I would say entertainment industry. And actually with floorball, we are part of that entertainment industry, for sure. We are entertaining people, and that's something that is very important to kind of like take as a starting point. But we are competing for the attention and the time of the people. So we want them to come and check out and consume, like the floorball as a sport, rather than then, booting up, your phone and playing a game of Angry Birds, for example, or, like checking out what the latest and greatest show on Netflix or one of these other many services and brands that want to entertain us and want to kind of like take our attention and take our time. So that's something that we realized very early on at Angry Birds. And actually we expanded into consumer products, so like T-shirts and hoodies and soft drinks and parks and animation and movies, like everything. And the whole point was that we wanted people to live and breathe the brand. It's like play the game, drink the soft drink, watch the movie, all these triggers to remind you that, hey, we're around. So it becomes part of the lifestyle. And actually, the red hoodie was already like talked about, so why not share the story about that? Actually, I wanted early days of Angry Birds wanted to make the point about like how you differentiate. So went to this business event in Germany, and I was on a panel discussion, and then I asked somebody to take a picture of that panel, and then flew back to Espoo to Rovio headquarters, and then I shared the photo with the team. And in the photo, you saw 3 guys wearing, the traditional business attire, dark suit, tie, all of that stuff, and 1 guy in a red hoodie and red shoes, me. And then I told Juhana Kotilainen, who was doing marketing at Rovio at the time, that, hey, this is what I mean. This is how you differentiate. You need to stand out. And I think that this is something that, again, when we look at branding, and of course, everybody understands that branding is very important. I would argue that branding is everything. It's your story, it's who you are, as the F-Liga or, floorball, the team, all of that. You have to live and breathe it. You have to be, living that every day, every minute yourself. You have to be serious about it. It's not something that, okay, let's just slap a brand on this thing, or let's do a new team logo or something like that. I mean, it really is like the whole story. It's everything. But yeah, anyway, so we expanded to all of these different areas because we wanted to offer our fans an opportunity to enjoy the brand, the experience all the time. But then, of course, a lot of people started telling us that, hey, you guys are a games company. You don't know anything about making toys or like soft drinks or like all of that. And, like you should focus. You should focus on the game. And then I always answer and explain that actually at Rovio, we are focused on providing Angry Birds branded experiences in all forms and shapes to our fans. And this is actually what we're executing on at F-Liga as well. And I think that this is what we need to do as floorball, that we want to provide floorball experiences in all forms and shapes to our fans. That's what it's all about. Of course, we have the game, but we have, the pre-game, post-game, we have the various, shows and opportunities in between the periods that we can do. All of that, we need to look at the game, first of all, as a much bigger experience. We need to provide fantastic experience to our fans. Of course, the sport, the game has to be, fantastic, but also everything around needs to be fantastic. It's not good enough that, hey, we just play in this random arena. I mean, the arenas, everything, the services need to be in good shape. I mean, no matter what you do around the brand, if it's not true, you're not going to win. So we really need to do that. But anyway, one way of looking at this is really that we want to provide the experience around floorball, around F-Liiga in this case, in all forms and shapes to our fans. And again, offline, online, I mean, this event itself is a great experience. What we also need to do as a sport. Some people will come and enjoy the game live, on site, and it needs to be fantastic. But we also need to provide, the opportunity to the millions of people that can't come to the arena, but they happen to be sitting there in Singapore, or maybe they are in Kenya enjoying, the F-Liiga game. So we need to provide fantastic experience there. And maybe you don't have time to enjoy the full game, so then we need to have all the highlights and we need to have, all of that. And of course, it is about the teams. So we need to help the teams also live and execute their brands. Actually, example of what we did here in Finland, we worked with a local brand, Ville Beino, and we actually created a limited set of products where we created these Ville Beino versions of all the team logos. And then we had a limited set of hoodies with those new mashup logos. And that was super, super popular. And again, an example of how we can work together with brands in a new way. In fact, it wasn't actually that new because while I was at Rovio, we did the exact same thing with the NBA. We created Angry Birds versions of all the NBA team logos. We created an Angry Birds game with the NBA. And until that date, it was the most popular NBA mobile game ever. And I think that we have lots and lots of opportunities in floorball to take these kind of experience to current fans, to new fans. And again, I think that we really need to look at the big picture. How do we bring new experience to our existing fans, but also how do we bring new fans into the sport? Another interesting example there, with Angry Birds, we were very, very successful in China. And then one of our partners actually told us that they had been contacted, on the licensing side, brand licensing, which is big deal, of course, of developing brands and all of that, that the MLB, so the, Major League Baseball, had contacted them and said that, hey, we would like to do things in China. And then our guys who were helping us with Angry Birds in China said that, but hey, nobody knows about baseball. And everybody knows about Angry Birds. So I always proud to say that we are bigger than baseball in China. But okay, now what has happened in the meanwhile is that you have all over China, you have these MLB stores where you can go in and buy your, Red Sox or Yankees or whatever, the team might be, your hoodie or your, baseball cap or something like that. Reason why I bring this up is that most of the people wearing those baseball brands, they most likely, when you look at China, have never even seen a baseball game, and they probably don't even know what this Yankees brand is all about. But they might have the first encounter with the brand through a physical product. Then they start figuring out that, hey, what is this all about? Oh, it turns out to be that it's like baseball. And I think that we have the same opportunity that, of course, most people in China, most people on the planet don't know about floorball yet. But again, we can use different type of channels, different types of things, working with our brands, with our teams, to get that brand out there in front of millions, even hundreds of millions or billions of people. So these are the kind of approaches that we need to do to expand the sport. And for me, it's perfectly okay if the entry is that I go and buy, Tampere Classic, baseball cap, because I saw that in a store in China, and then I start figuring out that, hey, wait a minute, this is like the many time champion of the F-Liiga in Finland. This is like really cool, and then you get sucked into the sport and you become a floorball fan. And maybe a fan of Classic or Indians or like one of the teams here in the F-Liiga. So that's kind of like how it works. You have to have many of these like entry points, many gateways into becoming a fan of the sport. So it's not just about like we need to get people to the games. We have many other channels and many other ways how we can achieve our ultimate goal of making floorball the biggest sport on the planet. Like why not? And I would ask like how difficult can it be? I'm sure that we can make that happen. But anyway, those are some of the thoughts I had about branding and like how to apply this kind of brand thinking and a bit of a bigger picture to floorball. And I think that we have fantastic opportunity because, again, most people of the planet are not fans of floorball yet, but it's our job to make it so. And then we can learn a lot from the entertainment industry. We can learn a lot from the other leagues. And I think that this is what it's all about. And it's about learning by doing. So as I said, it's a good start, but we're only getting started. So you'll hear about the F-Liiga and you will hear about floorball a lot more going forward. But now I think we have time for a few questions. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you, Petra. There were a couple of questions. Artur from Russia is asking, is it possible for teams from other countries to participate in F-Liiga at the moment?
Let's say that short answer is yes, but we're not quite there yet. But totally part of the plan is to have teams from other countries participate. So, if you look at the world, there's a lot of opportunity to have teams from other countries. And yeah, Russia happens to be next door, so part of the neighborhood, so definitely possible.
I hope there's some reporters online as well, because that's news.
Okay, yeah.
There's a question from the Ukraine. What are the main focuses in brand development in your point of view?
I think that you have to take it seriously. And I think that that's also the point I want to make here, that it's not just that you take and slap some visual like representation on a product or like a team or something like that. But it's really, for me, the brand is everything. So it's the story about like what you are doing, about your team, about your league, about like whatever you might be up to. So you really need to, when I say take it seriously, you have to live it. You have to be, part of that, and it has to be part of your like everyday life. That's super important. And I think for many people, branding is kind of like an afterthought. That okay, yeah, let's think a little bit about the brand, but it's like the whole story, and that's how you win. That you take this kind of like very holistic, very comprehensive perspective when you are building the brand.
Yeah, it's not just slapping new stickers on.
No, that doesn't help. And I think that also when you have confidence in your brand. I think this is a great example, what we did here, with Billebane and what we did with, the NBA back in the day, that when you have, like a strong brand, then you're not afraid of, like making these kind of like mashups and doing like fun and exciting things with your brand. And I think this is also for me, that's something that you shouldn't be afraid of trying new things and also creating new experiences for the fans. That I think that if you look at the games, and you go to a floorball game, I think that it needs to be an experience, and we can learn a lot from the professional leagues in the US in particular. Like how the games have been productized and all that. And of course, we have then these many purists that, oh no, but it's just about the game, and like having all these other services is a distraction. But I think that we really need to always keep in mind that what I said many times there, that we are competing all the time for the attention and the time of the people. They have so many other things that they can do, so we need to be kind of like worth their time and attention.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really relevant point. This is a question from Oskari from Espoo.
Okay, yeah, very good.
You can't run before you learn how to walk, so to say. If you look at the next things, the next development stages, what would you feel that are the next steps for F-Liiga, for instance, to take in brand development?
So I think that there's a lot that we can do back home. So I think we need to work with the teams to make kind of like the core product that is still, like the game itself, that we can make the events bigger and better. I think that is something, and we need our our Super Bowls and El Clasicos, and we need these kind of like big rivalries, these big derbies, these big battles. So we need to help build those kind of like events that can't miss. So I think this is one thing, and then I think also, of course, we're now here in Finland, tiny little country. Yeah, of course, we happen to be at the center of everything. We have Europe on one side, Asia on the other side. So we have 5 billion people, 70% of the world's population here, like in our home market. So I mean, we have a fantastic geographic location, but we need to look at then taking the F-Liiga, like we actually started before the pandemic. We played the cup final in Tallinn, Estonia, but I think that we played back in the day. We had an exhibition game in Singapore. I think that we need to play more of these league games outside of Finland. And yeah, there was a question from Russia. Yeah, we could go and play in Russia. We could go and play in China, in Japan, in Singapore again. Why not do like a tour of the US and so on? So I think that there's a lot of opportunity to do that. And yeah, of course, then always thinking about new and novel ways for the brand, for the product, for the experience to reach the fans, no matter where they're at. And that was kind of like the baseball cap like example that for me, it's absolutely no problem if somebody learns about F-Liiga and one of the teams through a T-shirt or a baseball cap or anything that, or like it could be like a mobile game or a movie or whatever. But I think that it's very, very important that we take this always this very, very like big picture view, and then we start like creating the experiences and making people aware.
And this is a question from you, another question from the Ukraine you touched on right there. Are there any plans to make Angry Birds Floorball Edition game, or maybe a floorball game for Xbox or something else like that?
Yeah, I think that I don't personally have like any like active plans in that, but there's absolutely no reason why not? And I know that there's been some attempts at creating kind of like console and mobile games around floorball. I think that there's many opportunities to take bits and pieces of the floorball experience. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but I mean, one great piece of entertainment, like the penalty shots. So, like that could be like one example that, we could productize and take that much, much further. And that could then come in the form of like a mobile game or some other experience. So I think that there are many things like in the sport of floorball that we can then take and we can make that bigger. And again, by doing that, we can make all of floorball bigger. So I think that there's no end to the opportunities that we have there.
There's one more question before we leave the stage for Pekka Ilmivalta. Lauri has asked, as electronic interactivity plays a big role for the modern day consumer, how are you planning on implementing this element into F-Liiga customer experience? Again, something you already touched on.
Yeah, I think that we're already, here in Finland, which of course, like again, small market and all that, but we're already leading the way when it comes to all of like social media, and like you look at the presence on like Instagram and like whatnot. Those are already ways of enjoying, kind of like snippets of the game. We have let's say we have an okay start for like the streaming the games online, and I think that will get better and better. So really the production values are getting better there. But then we have, of course, we're always looking at how we can make more experience available, and I think that there we have only like scratched the surface a little bit, and there's a lot of things that we want to do, but we're not quite there yet. But definitely it's a big part of the attention. I think floorball enjoys one kind of like big let's say advantage over many of the more traditional sports, that we are a very young sport. So we don't have hundreds of years of traditions that we can't break. We have some traditions, but we can break them, no problem, and we can do a lot around the game, and I think that is actually because we have young fans, and everybody knows that young people are the future. So I think that this is why I think floorball has like a fantastic future, because again, we're only getting started.
Thank you very much, Peter. Very, very interesting thoughts there.